get these cameras right?
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our latest edition of the Wiley Drake Show.
The dinner Wiley Drake.
That's true, and you may notice that we're in an unusual environment today. We are at the Jazz Kitchen at the Disney downtown in Anaheim, California. The reason we're here is we are going to be seeing once again a live special of the
Kurt Cameron's movie called Revive Us.
Revive Us. Actually, it's not even a movie. I think it's unless it's a replay of the
Well,
old one.
it's not really a movie. It's a live presentation in the movie theater here at AMC. And guess what, folks? My wife, for 48 years, 1 month and 14 days, who's in heaven now, was at this facility, not this one, but here on property, when it opened in 1953. And in 1953, just when Disneyland opened, my wife, Barbara Julianne Stevens, was there on opening day at Disneyland many, many years ago. 1953.
Does that strike you as a Mickey Mouse story?
Mickey Mouse story for sure.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, go from there. No, I remember what it is. Being a SoCal resident all my life, I can remember coming to Disneyland for the first time. I think it was like in 58 or 59, but I definitely remember it. It is raining here in California, which is really unusual. We don't ordinarily get this, but we're really early in the season, and there is water falling out of the sky.
Yes.
So, needless to say, perhaps our prayers have been answered when we have been praying for precipitation, fancy word for rain. So that seems to be working, and I go from there. We have some interesting things to discuss. One of which is it's amazing how the dirt on Hillary keeps coming out. And between WikiLeaks, Judicial Watch, and a few other things, it's unbelievably important. And I'm going to start out with a very aggressive statement today, and then we will explain why the aggressive statement is being made. And here's the aggressive statement. Hillary Clinton is a criminal, and if you vote for her, you have joined her criminal conspiracy and you become a criminal. And for those of you that are tearing out your hair, assuming you have hair, I don't, but assuming that you did, you may want to know, where does that come from?
All right, before you go into that though, we're going to take it off you for a little bit, because in all honesty, the lighting is not quite as good as I thought it was.
Uh-oh.
So we're going to take the camera back on me, and that's okay with me, because I are the star of the show. But at any rate, I want to do some announcements, and then we'll come back to that Hillary announcement here in a little bit. Now, ladies and gentlemen, excuse me for itching my nose, but it itches and I got to scratch it. That's the benefit of a live show. When you're on a live show, if you itch, you scratch. And if you scratch, the people say, look at there, he's scratching his nose. No producer says don't do that, cut, anything. But anyway, we are at, what's the name of this place again?
We are at the Jazz Kitchen.
The Jazz Kitchen. Ralph Brennan's Jazz Kitchen. Ralph Brennan is from Nolens. That's how they say it down there. They say Nolens. But we are here at the Jazz Kitchen. We're live on the air, and we thank you for joining us. I want to remind you that when you vote, you've got three choices. Number one, you can vote for Hillary.
No, you can't.
Number two, you can vote for Trump.
Yeah.
Number three, you can go to the bottom of the ballot where the blank is, write in Wiley Drake, and vote for me.
Can I say something about that?
Go right ahead.
Because his name didn't make it onto the ballot, we've already had a couple of people saying that he's not really a candidate. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? I just got from the Federal Election Commission my notice as the campaign manager for Dr. Drake that I have to get my quarterly report filed on campaign contributions by October 27th, or they're going to talk nasty about me. And so if the Federal Election Commission is telling me to file reports on candidate Dr. Drake, he must really be a candidate.
Must really be a candidate. Well, I resemble that remark, and thank you so much for doing your report. And the fact of the matter is, I had to chastise him earlier because I said, hey, I don't want to get in trouble with the government.
No, then you understand. You don't understand the report I'm going to file. I'm going to say that you got all your money from the Clinton Foundation, so we don't have to report it.
Oh, okay. So if it comes from the Clinton Foundation, you don't have to report it.
No, absolutely not.
Well, that's a pretty good lie to tell, isn't it? Yeah. And besides that, I'm just following the Clinton suit of lying.
Let me tell you what I am
Go
going to do. You want to talk about pushing the issue. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize, but here's what I am going to do. I am going to, on the official government report for campaign donations, I am literally going to put a line in the report that says he did not get any money from the Clinton Foundation.
Did not.
So it will go into the official records, and it will actually be there. Oh, sorry about that. So it's the official records that will actually be there.
Well, very good, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching the Wiley Drake Show, live from Washington, D.C., on location today at the Jazz Kitchen in downtown Disney. And we have Heather serving us today.
Yes, we do.
And
sugar, please.
And we are in downtown Disney. And it looks like the rain is ceasing, and
not that way.
Not that way. Okay.
No, it rained like a sunburn over there.
Rain is over there. Okay. Well, that's typical Southern California. Things swing in quite a different ways, and I'll not go with that any further. Even the rain goes different.
There is no hope for it. Thank you, ma'am.
All right. And there comes the coffee. Heather with the coffee, and that means she gets a good tip.
You know what the best tip is, don't you?
Yeah.
Don't bet the horses.
Don't bet the horses.
That's my tip, yes.
Yeah, there's my good tip. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are on the line. If you'd like to call us and check in here with us, we're at the Jazz Kitchen.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
I show that it's just a little bit before 5 o'clock.
Yeah, we came on early.
I understand, but let me finish my question.
Okay.
Okay. And this is a Monday, isn't it?
I think so.
And is this any sort of holiday that I don't know about?
I'm not sure.
Why are all these people here?
Well, because this is Disney, downtown Disney, my friend. People go to downtown Disney quite often, even when it's not a holiday. But it's a holy day. But, whoops.
Thank
as
you.
I knocked the camera over.
Well, Satan knocks the camera over, one of the two.
Satan knocking the camera over. All right. We are back with you here, ladies and gentlemen, live from Mr. Brennan. What's his first name? I can't remember. Ralph Brennan. I remember a guy in movies, Ralph. Here comes Ralph. Old Ralph Cramden. One of these days, Alice, boom, to the moon. You're well enough.
Okay, I do want to hit on Hillary, but
Okay.
the other thing I want to hit on, because we spent a lot of time there.
No, don't. The vision conjured up when you said that in my mind was hitting on Hillary. And that vision causes me a great deal of stress. So please don't use that terminology on a godly show for a pastor from the Southern Baptist Convention. Don't.
Did it ever occur to you that I didn't say what I wanted to hit her with when I hit on her?
Oh, okay.
You know, it might be a Louisville Slugger, which you back east people know what a Louisville Slugger
Oh,
is.
absolutely. We do know that.
Okay, tell us about what you did last night, because I understand that you were blowing your own horn last night, I want to hear about that.
I tooted my own horn last night. We understand from the teaching of real history, not Clinton history, but real history, and that word is History, his story, that God said in reference to this thing that we call life, there's a beginning, there's an ending, and there's a middle. Well, as best we determine, we're in the middle somewhere. We don't know where, it depends on who you talk to, but we do know the beginning has already happened because we're here. And we do know, according to the book of Revelation, the book of Daniel, and many other books in the Bible, that one of these days, time is going to cease. And God, the Bible says, blew a trumpet in the beginning. And he also said that at the end, the angel, Gabriel, will blow another trumpet. Now the word for trumpet that's used there. That's the English word. But the Hebrew word is shofar. And so we blowed the shofar last night because the Bible says in the beginning God blew it. In the end, he's going to tell Gabriel to blow it. But in the meantime, pastors and rabbis and priests and boys and girls and men and women are allowed, in fact instructed, to blow the shofar. And the shofar is S-H-O-F-A-R. And it is made originally from the horn of a sheep, a ram's horn. But there are now many other horns that have been used, hollowed out and used as a trumpet. In fact, I was not too long ago, he asked a while ago what I was doing last night. I was at the Anaheim Convention Center, which is not far from here, and we had a group of about a dozen practiced shofar sounders. And we had a lot of people praying and a lot of people singing, and we sounded the shofar.
You just stumbled into my trap.
What's that?
What is the magic number in the Bible?
Well, there's several.
What is the most important number in the Bible, in my humble opinion?
7.
How many shofar blowers did we have last night?
I don't know. How many?
7.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yes, I counted them.
Thank
I thought
you.
that was biblical that we had 7 shofar players last night.
I was speaking ministerially.
I was speaking numerically.
Sometimes we pastors speak ministerially, and ministerially speaking means that the crowds rushed into the sanctuary, both the man and his wife, as they came into the sanctuary. But anyway, but thank you for that. And 7 is the same in the English language. We have another terminology that is being bantered about today, yesterday, and will be bantered again tomorrow, and that is people want to know what the percentage points are for Hillary and for Mr. Trump. So percentage, what is a fraction even of a percentage? And I never have been able to figure out, these guys talk about 240% of something. Well, that just don't make any sense to me, because my mama told me all of something was 100%. And if it's more than 100%, that's what she called a bunch. But at any rate, he's absolutely right. In the Hebrew language, the number 7 was used to denote and designate total fullness, all of something. So we had all of the shofar blowers last night. We had 7. And we blew the shofar at the convention center there on Catella Avenue. And we thank the Lord for that. Had a great opportunity, great witnessing time. Brother David Andrade is one of the men that was one of the leaders and did a great job there. Has done some other great events. And by the way, we will be coming up with some other events here in the near future. And we would encourage you to be a part of that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are broadcasting to you live from Ralph Brennan's. I have no idea who Ralph Brennan is, but I do know he's famous. And I might be able to get my researcher to put in Ralph Brennan, New Orleans or Nolans, and find out why he is so famous. Because Ralph Brennan is the man that is the name of this restaurant. And we're having Mr. Davis picked for us. I also have with me James L. McCullough, a.k.a. the Hitchhiker, and he is here with us tonight. And Brother Davis, a little while ago, ordered our meal, and then I said, that's 2 times, or dose, and the Hitchhiker said trace, or 3 times. So, we're all 3 having the same meal, and Mr. Davis, what is the name of that meal?
Well, but I answered in French as a croix, So I'm really continental on that. It has an unusual name, which is what caught my attention, and the name is Gumbo Ya Ya.
Gumbo Ya Ya.
I have no idea what that means.
I have no idea what it is. And I don't know if that's my speakers or theirs. I hope it's theirs, not mine, making a popping and cracking noise. As you know, we can't do a Wiley Drake show without coffee.
True.
And we thank the Lord for being here. We are at one of the happiest places on earth. There is a man that is in heaven today, and I know he's in heaven because I had the privilege several years ago over on Main Street in Disneyland to stop. My wife and I were letting the kids be babysat for us as they went through the park, and we were there. And my wife turned to me and said, "Honey, I believe that is Mr. Disney. I believe that's Walt Disney." And I said, "You're absolutely right." So I went over and introduced myself to him, and he shared with me that one of the things that he was criticized for was talking about Disneyland being the happiest place on earth. But he said, "I really believe that it is." And I think that's true. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give a free plug to Downtown Disney. The beauty of Downtown Disney is you don't have to come over and pay the park in minutes. You don't have to go in the park. That's great. You want to go on all the rides. But for some of us that are a little bit past that ride age, and so we like to come to Disneyland anyway because we've been coming here. I came here when I was dating my wife. You see, my wife's parents were pretty strict about their daughter and who she dated. And they had some very serious concern about her dating a sailor, which is what I was. And those concerns, I tried to relay to them that I wasn't a typical sailor, but my father-in-law to be realized that sailors know how to lie, and in more ways than one. And so I did lie to him because I was a typical sailor at that time. But fortunately, my wife Barbara was a prayer warrior, prayed me out of the devil's kingdom into the Lord's kingdom, and I got saved. But at any rate, Mr. Disney said, "This is the happiest place on earth." And it really is a happy place. I would encourage you, if you are in Southern California, to buy your tickets, get them ahead of time, get a good deal on them through Auto Club or somebody. But if you're not going to get a ticket to the park, there is a new, in my opinion, Disney called Downtown Disney. You will see entertainment here. You can drink margaritas here. You can eat tacos, and you can eat gumbo ya-ya. Also,
hello, sir. Outstanding.
And so our gumbo ya-ya has arrived live right here on the Wiley Drake Show. Thank you, sir. And
very cool.
Very cool.
He's picking on you.
And some more coffee when you get a drink.
Coffee, of course. Does regular or you guys?
Regular. He looked at an old guy like me and dared think that I drink decaf coffee, and I doubt it. Oh, the gumbo ya-ya is fantastic.
Yes, it is.
And I'm not sure why they call it, I know gumbo, but I'm not sure why they call it ya-ya. And the waitress here says, "You don't know either." If she comes back and I'm doing my usual running my mouth, tell her I would like some coffee. I mean some water, please.
Okay. I can do that.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're on the phone line, speak up. I can hear you if you'll speak right up. Well, don't guess we have anybody.
Okay, do I get some more dirt on Hillary now?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you.
Hillary Dirt.
There are a ton of people that are in prison.
I'll tell you what, before you go too far with that, let me see. That's a hitchhiker. Have I got you on there?
Yes.
Is that okay now?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sort of thinking. Okay. There are a ton of people that are in prison because they gave some sort of aid to a terrorist group. They may have said they were going to join Al Qaeda or join one of the other groups, and that got them in trouble. If you send money to ISIS, you can go to prison. If you even have a Facebook or social media page and you give moral support to ISIS, you can go to prison. So in other words, supporting a terrorist group is kind of sort of serious in terms of a crime. Judicial Watch, with the help of a couple of other groups, have been able to get a hold of the emails in which Hillary clearly acknowledged the fact that the reason for Benghazi and the problem with Benghazi was that she was selling military equipment, weapons, rockets, stuff like that to ISIS. And when that started to go bad, she wanted to figure out some way to stop it, which is why she sent Ambassador Stevens over to Benghazi. And of course, that didn't go well for him or those other three Americans. But we now know that an officer of the United States government, the Secretary of State, was supporting a terrorist group by giving military equipment to that terrorist group. The last time I checked, that is supporting terrorism. That is a felony, and you can go to jail for the rest of your life as the result of it. So if one of you people that are listening to us out there would please like to explain why Hillary shouldn't be charged with supporting terrorism and spending the rest of her miserable life in prison, by all means call and explain it to me, because I'm not smart enough to figure it out.
Well, neither am I, Mr. Davis, and I want to change the camera around here. I apologize for eating on TV, but he finished and I wasn't finished. We do ask that you continue to support the Wiley Drake Show. And if you will, one of the things that we do is we try to do interviews with people on TV. We try to let people talk about their business. And Disney didn't give us permission, nor ask us, but we're advertising for the restaurant that we're at, and it's called Jazz Kitchen. And this gumbo yaya is pretty jazzy.
How are we doing here?
This gentleman is in desperate need of water.
I need a glass of water.
Sure. Would you like one as well?
No, ma'am, I'm doing fine, but if you want to bring more hot water for tea, I'll take you up on it.
And let's see, maybe we got some. We do thank you for listening. We are not in Washington, D.C. We are, in fact, about as far away from Washington as you can get without getting in the ocean. And I sort of like that, even though I usually spend a great part of at least 1 or 2 days in Washington each month. And I'd just soon not do that, but the Lord called me to do it back in 2000. I've still not figured out a way to say no to God, because He told me to do it. Because back in 2000, God told us through some very godly men and women that we ought to put together a thing called the Congressional Prayer Conference. And the Congressional Prayer Conference is the sponsor of this show right now. The Congressional Prayer Conference that is headed up by two men, the chairman and a co-chairman. And the co-chairman is not with us today. His name is Dr. Clyde Rivers. Dr. Clyde Rivers has been on some of these outings and special Wiley Drake shows before, and we do miss him. Dr. Clyde Rivers is not only the vice chairman, or co-chairman actually, co-chairman of the Congressional Prayer Conference, but we thank him for doing that. And but he has another job that is very, very important to several countries. He is the ambassador. He is the ambassador for the African country of Burundi. And Burundi is an excellent country. They have one of the most interesting presidents of all the African countries. In fact, recently there were some 60 African countries that met in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. And if you'll remind me in a few moments, I'll share with you the Washington, D.C. name. But all of those people, those presidents from many countries in Africa, went to Washington for a meeting, and their reason for meeting was to find out what other countries were doing in reference to the Ebola, in reference to the AIDS epidemic, and in reference to a lot of other epidemics. And they found out that Burundi, the African country named Burundi, that they found out that indeed they had been able to almost eliminate AIDS and Ebola and a lot of other things, and they did it by declaring a holy step in their country, and that is abstinence. The men and the women were to be one man, one woman if they were married, and if they were single, they were to stay chaste. And they enforced that in their country. And as a result of enforcing chaste living and good living, the death rate went way down and the health rate went way up. And so Dr. Clyde Rivers went over there to check that out, met the president, President Pierre, and after he met him, President Pierre encouraged him to become their ambassador to the rest of the world. He is the ambassador at large, indeed, not only for the United States, but many, many other countries. Now, I talked a moment ago about Washington, D.C. We do go to Washington, D.C. We have been going on a regular basis since the year 2000. And as we were there back a few years ago, about 5 or 6 years ago, someone asked me, a pastor, the question about why do we abbreviate our nation's capital? We call it Washington, D.C. What does D.C. stand for? And somebody very quickly pointed out, before I was embarrassed that I didn't know, someone else pointed out very quickly that D.C. was the abbreviation for the District of Columbia. And I thought, okay, that's good. The district just means an area. Columbia means something to do with one of our founding explorers, Christopher Columbus. And so he said, no, that's not why we named it Washington, D.C. We named it Washington, D.C. after a particular goddess that was on the top of the building on the top of the rotunda, and her name was the goddess Columbia. And so they named the capital of America after a pagan goddess, Columbia. And as a minister of the gospel, and as an ambassador for the kingdom of God, and for an American citizen, and a patriot who went to war twice in Vietnam, I said we should not have our nation, the United States of America's capital, named after a pagan god. And so we stood on the steps of the building there that houses the Supreme Court of the United States. And I reminded them that that was not the Supreme Court. It is the Supreme Court of the United States of America, but the Supreme Court of all lands, of all time,
Yes, sir.
indeed, is God Himself. And so that is really the Supreme Court there. And so we said we ought not call our nation after a false god. So we renamed our capital. We left the name D.C., Washington, D.C., but we changed the D.C. to the District of Christ. And we believe that is appropriate because the Mayflower Compact says America is a Christian nation. America came for the glory of Almighty God, for the advancement of the Christian faith, and for the establishment of a righteous body politic. And so we declared that the capital of the United States should indeed be called the District of Christ. And so we indeed changed that name. To some of you young people, and even some of you old people, we, that is patriots, pastors, people, we around the nation are looking for a politician that has enough intestinal fortitude. In Arkansas language, that's a little word, enough guts to bring forth a bill that would pass a law that would make it legal to call America's capital the District of Christ. So far, we've had no takers on that, but we're still looking.
You have me confused again.
What's that?
I thought intestinal fortitude was fiber.
It is.
Thank you. Okay, I'm happy. You had me confused, man.
Physically speaking, but
Thank you. Okay.
communicationally speaking, communicationally speaking, intestinal fortitude means somebody who's got the guts to do something.
You'll be happy to know that it's not raining anymore.
Well, I'm pleased with that, I guess. That means we could have done an outside show, but
Well, we kind of sort of are outside.
we're sort of outside, so we're sort of choosing.
Okay, let's cover some more interesting things and unfortunate things.
Okay?
I think somebody's unhappy.
Let me make sure I get this. Is that all right on you right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Loud kid.
as you know, one of the things that the Wiley Greg Show, because we always say we're starting prayers for first responders, and we're already very respectful and appreciative of the first responders. Anytime we lose one of God's servants who's a first responder, then we pay attention to it and we put it out to you. You know that less than 2 weeks ago, we lost a sergeant from the Sheriff's Department, Sergeant Owen. He was murdered while responding to a burglary call. Unfortunately, this morning, we were informed that they've lost yet another sergeant from the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. Do not have the gentleman's name yet, but he was responding to a pursuit in progress of a stolen vehicle, and he unfortunately crashed while he was trying to get to that location, and he apparently did not survive the crash. So we don't know a whole lot more about it yet, but as soon as we know more, you will know more. So while we ordinarily like to say our prayers and specifically name the person that is the subject of prayer, in this case we'll have to rely on the omnipotence and omnipotence of God to know who we're speaking of when we ask you to please say prayers for the family, the fellow officers, and the department of the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department who unfortunately have lost yet another sergeant in the service of the community and this country.
All right. Tell us a little bit about this next week. We have a two-part meeting. Tell us about that two-part meeting. One at 12 noon and one at 7 p.m.
Well, good, because that then will lead me into something else I want to talk about, which is a good thing. And I go from there. First of all, let me get my pen put up right. I can't believe it's upside down again. Hate it when that happens. We're not long. We have a gentleman that we have been friends with for quite some time. We've had him out here before, and he's a very good gentleman, and his name is Ken Timmerman. He is an author. He's out on the East Coast, and I first became aware of him as a result of a book called Dark Forces, which was the true story of what really happened in Benghazi. Because, ladies and gentlemen, if you ain't figured it out yet, Hillary and Barry Soetoro Obama and the liberal media have been lying to you about what happened in the, God, I love kids. Anyway, have been lying to you about what really happened in Benghazi. Don't you be snickering over there, hitchhiker. He's my co-host over here is snickering, so I'm embarrassed now. So anyway, when the lies started, Ken Timmerman, being a, for lack of a better term, an investigative journalist and author, then wound up writing the follow-up book called Deception. And what Deception is about is the lies that Hillary, Obama, and the rest of the government told about what really happened in Benghazi. And you may ask yourself, what the heck does that have to do with you guys? Well, the thing that was blamed for Benghazi was a YouTube video, all of about 12 minutes long, that, oh yes it is, yes, and we're going to split that, so make sure we all have our little plates for it. Yes, we surprised the pastor. We found out he likes bread pudding, so we have surprised him with that. Anyway, we do sneaky things, I can't help myself. Thank you, sir. So anyway, as a result of that, you may remember that Hillary blamed this video for Benghazi, and that turned out to be an unbelievably bad lie. But because of the nature of the lie, what she then did is she then arranged for Nakula to be falsely imprisoned for making that video. So she took what liberty that he had, threw him back in prison, told the family, oh yeah, we've taken care of the person. It had nothing to do with it. The whole thing was a scam. Now, surprisingly, because of that video, which is not very complimentary of the prophet, and if you haven't seen the video, you ought to see it, he has a fatwa on him. So you ask, what the heck's a fatwa? Well, unfortunately, an imam, a priest in the Islam religion, can issue a death warrant against somebody, and everybody of that particular sect is supposed to obey that death warrant, and so they're supposed to kill the person. And if they have to take out a few innocent people, so long as they get the target of the fatwa, they don't care. So, needless to say, when Mr. Nakula was sent to a halfway house, as soon as the halfway house found out they had a fatwa on him, they didn't want him anymore. So, through a minor miracle, the feds got a hold of Dr. Drake. Said, hi, we got a problem. We got a guy that needs to be a place to stay, food, lodging. We can't keep him in a halfway house. They don't want him. Would you be willing to take him even though he has a fatwa on him? And much to his credit, and as a good minister of the gospel, Dr. Drake said, yes, I will. I will give him sanctuary we're here. So as a result of that, for the last 3 years, Mr. Nakula has been literally in the custody of a probation officer who also happens to be a member of the First Southern Baptist Church of Buena Park and happens to kind of sort of be the pastor. So we have a pastor who's also a probation officer, so there's a heck of a story there. Well, no sooner does he start helping Nakula with this, then they decide, hey, why don't we go ahead and issue a fatwa against this man? So Pastor Drake, unfortunately, has a fatwa on him. Now, because Pastor Drake is certainly brave, certainly believes in God, certainly understands that when he passes, he's going to go to the streets of heaven, and so that's all good for him. But realizing he still has a bunch of work to do here, he kind of thought, you know what, maybe I ought to get a security team here to stay alive so I can get my work done before I get called home. And under the heading of God Works in Mysterious Ways, he put me in touch with Pastor Drake. And because executive protection, counterterrorism, and a few other interesting things that I can't talk about in public are within my area of expertise, I said yes. So you're thinking, okay, what the hell does this have to do with anything? And the answer is this. Ken Timmerman is going to be here tomorrow. He'll be arriving later this evening. He's going to be here tomorrow, and he's going to do a lecture and book signing at the First Southern Baptist Church of Buena Park at noon tomorrow. And you can come out, you can hear the truth about what really happened in Benghazi. You can pick up an autographed copy of the book, Deception, and I guarantee you'll have a very interesting time, and you'll also learn why Hillary shouldn't have anything to do with the government other than being a guest of the Federal Bureau of Prisons, which I would vote for. If you can't make the noon show because it's work hours and some of us have to work for a living, then you can join us at the Lux, L-U-X-E Hotel in Los Angeles. And he will be there at 7 o'clock. He'll be there from 7 to 9. And once again, you'll be able to listen to a very interesting lecture and be able to get a copy of the book signing. Yes, there's a few bucks involved. Unfortunately, he had to buy the airline tickets to get out here. He's got to pay for the room. So it does have a little bit of overhead involved with this. But it ought to be a very interesting evening. In case you're worried about is there any risk, the good news is both CATS, the Civilian Arms Training Source, in conjunction with the MINT group, M-E-N-T group out of Los Angeles, have volunteered to provide security, executive protection for Pastor Drake, Mr. Nakula, and Ken Timmerman. So tomorrow's going to be a busy day for us, but I guarantee you it's going to be an interesting day for us. And I'm going to turn it back over to you while I divvy up the red pudding.
Yeah, and I want to. We've made a security officer out of you. We've made a lot of things out of you, and now we're going to make a dessert divider out of you.
Oh, absolutely.
And while you're dividing the dessert, since you have a dangerous weapon in your hand, I want to ask the hitchhiker if he would to lead us in prayer.
All right. Dear Father God, we thank you, Lord, for this day, this opportunity you've given us to glorify your name.
Yes.
Thank you, Lord, that as we gather here in your presence, Father God, that we've been given the courage and the strength to take a stand against the wrongs in this nation. Now, gracious Father, you are our shepherd, we shall not want. You make us lie down in green pastures. You restore our souls. You lead us beside the still water. You lead us in the path of righteousness. Your name's sake. And even though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we fear no evil.
Right.
Thou art with us. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort us. Thou preparest a table before us in the presence of our enemies. Thou anoint our heads with oil. Our cups run over. Surely goodness and mercy will follow us all the days of our lives. We will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
And I have another biblical side I'd like to give.
All right, go ahead.
Because of the nature of what we're doing tomorrow, the fact that Saturday, this last Saturday, we taught an alert class, and we already have another alert class scheduled for November 19th. Now is the time for y'all to obey a command that Christ gave in the Bible. And if you haven't obeyed this command yet, you need to do it. In Luke 22, 36 to 38, he ordered his disciples, sell your garments and buy a sword. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a really good time. Now, we don't have to use swords anymore because we have firearms, but I'm going to play a little bit of interpretation and say it's time to sell your garments and buy a gun because of how bad things are getting.
Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, we're broadcasting to you live from downtown Disney, the Wiley Drake Show, and I have one of my great supporters on the line. Carla, are you there? Are you there, Carla? One of my great supporters hung up on me. And that was my daughter, Carla. Let me see if I can get her back. I might be able to. She forgot. Call Carla McCulty. Hey Carla, how you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm doing fine. We're doing the Wiley Drake Show live from downtown Disney. That's why all the noise. Tell our listening audience who you are and what your relationship to me is.
I'm Carla, and I am your daughter.
Well, I'll call you back in a little while, but we're doing a live show right now. We're at the Jazz Kitchen, and we're having Louisiana Cajun bread pudding, and having a great time doing a live broadcast right here at the happiest place on the earth, and that is downtown Disney.
Okay, I'll call you back later.
Okay, we'll call you back in a little bit. Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, in spite of the fact that I've tried to warn my audience, including my daughter, that from 5 to 6, I'm on the air. My daughter Carla is in Hollywood. She knows the show must go on. She has son and daughters that are in theater and in the biz, so to speak. And but she called me anyway. She forgot, and she'll have a story to tell at the next family meeting. Don't call Dad during the show, otherwise he put you on the air. And we did, and that's okay. Now, we thank the Lord for the opportunity to be with you tonight. We're not going to go the full show. Anything else either of you would like to share at this point?
Only that I cannot stress how important it is to accept the fact we are at war.
Absolutely.
And if you want to use the term militia as to mean citizens who are prepared to defend themselves and defend their countries, then by all means we can do that.
Yeah.
But you need to do two things. One, get off your butt and vote.
Amen.
I don't want to hear somebody complaining and they never voted. Get off your butt and vote. Number two is train to stay alive because you need to do it.
All right, before we have Mr. Davis finish, I'm going to ask him if he would give his text number, and then I'll give you my phone number, and you can get in touch with us if you need more information on this great, by the way, Ken Timmerman is not just a book writer, he's not just an author, he's a New York Times celebrated author from New York Times. And so we would encourage you to join us tomorrow at noon. Also join us tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at the Lux Hotel. And if you want more information, Mr. Davis is going to give you his number, please.
Well, although I do this with a little trepidation, because I know when you have a guy who is as intelligent, good-looking, suave, monad as me, as soon as I give my phone number out, I'm going to have all sorts of women calling me, wanting to go on dates, so I will take the risk of putting out my number in public and hope for the best. My number is 951-261-0799. Text to that number either Ken or Alert. Ken if you want to go to his lecture tomorrow. Alert if you want to take the class. If anything else catches your attention, put a word in on it so I know what it is. Give me your name and your number, and then as soon as I get someplace I can return the call, I'll return the call. The reason I say that is, unfortunately, often if I'm in court or something else like that, unlike Pastor Drake, who will take the call even if he's in the bathroom, I have to shut the phone off, or the guy in the black robe yells at me and does bad things to me. So I have to turn the phone off. But again, 951-261-0799. Text a information word, your name and number, and I will get back to you as soon as I can.
And my number, if you want to reach me 24/7, 714-865-8132. 714-865-8132. And please get in touch with us. Be a part. Let us help you. Let us guide you. Let us train you. And remember, Jesus said, pray, prepare, and be armed. And that's what we want to do. We want to help you pray. We're not experts, but we do know Jesus. And we do want to tell you what he teaches about prayer. And we're also not experts in other areas, but we want to help you. We want to help you prepare with these classes. And we want you to do that. And we have several people we can put you in touch with if you want to know, how should I arm myself? Should I buy a sword or should I buy a Glock? Well, I recommend Glock, but we'll talk to you about whatever other arms you might like to take advantage of. With that in mind, we're going to say good night, God bless you, live from downtown Disney, the Wiley Drake Show on location. And